Hi, Amiyah. This is your reading buddy, Bob, again. How's my favorite first grader? Hope you're still doing well. This story we're going to read is called Don't Feed the Pigeons. It's an interesting story. Looks like the girl is trying to eat her lunch in the park, and there are pigeons everywhere. I think the reason that you're not supposed to feed the pigeons is because then they expect to get food from you and they bug you all the time for more. Don't Feed the Pigeons, written by Anne Harth. She writes them all. Eva and Tony ate lunch in the park. A pigeon landed next to their bench. Eva gave him a piece of her sandwich. Uh-oh. If she started feeding the pigeons, they're going to think there's more food there and they'll keep bugging her until she feeds them some more. Looks like Tony's a little bit concerned. Don't feed the pigeon, Tony said. Why not? Eva asked as she took a bite of her sandwich. If you feed one, hundreds will come. Another pigeon landed on the bench. Eva gave him a piece of her sandwich. Tony shook his head. You'll be sorry. Why will she be sorry? What do you think will happen? He stood up. I'm going to the corner store. Do you want to come? Eva looked at the pigeons. I'll wait here. I'll be right back. Don't feed the pigeons. A third pigeon landed on the bench. Eva gave him a piece of her sandwich. Uh-oh. Now how many are there? I count 1, 2, 3, 4. Sounds like her friend was right. If she gives them a little bit, hundreds will come. Suddenly, pigeons came from everywhere. They flapped and fluttered. They covered the ground. They covered the bench. Wow, she's got a lot of pigeons now. How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 pigeons. Her friend was right. The sky was full of pigeons. There were hundreds of them. Eva threw pieces of her sandwich to them. Soon, her sandwich was all gone. People walked past. They smiled and shook their heads. You shouldn't feed the pigeons, a little boy yelled. Eva waved her arms. One by one, the pigeons flew away. When Tony came back, the pigeons were gone. He took a bite of his sandwich. Eva's stomach grumbled. Why do you think her stomach grumbled? What does that usually mean? Probably that she's still hungry. And why is she still hungry? Because she gave all of her sandwich away to the pigeons, and she didn't have any left for herself. She was still hungry. She watched Tony as he ate his lunch. What's wrong? Tony asked. He doesn't know that she gave away her whole sandwich to the pigeons. He warned her not to feed it to them. I'm still hungry, Eva rubbed her stomach. You fed the pigeons, didn't you? Eva nodded. Did you give them all of your lunch? Asked Tony. Eva nodded. Her stomach grumbled again. Here, said Tony. Now Tony's feeding her. He held out half of his sandwich. You can have the rest of my sandwich, but you have to promise me one thing. What do you think he's going to make her promise? I know, Eva said. I promise never to feed the pigeons. Why shouldn't she ever do that? Probably because more and more will come, and eventually she won't get any of her own sandwich. Here are the comprehension questions. What does Eva feed the pigeons? Do you remember in the beginning what she fed them? Eva gave him a piece of her sandwich. And eventually, she gave them so much of her sandwich, there was nothing left for her. What happens to Eva's lunch? Well, as we just found out, every time she fed the pigeons, some more pigeons came until eventually she gave all of her sandwich away. Where does Tony go in the story? Do you remember that Tony left them? I think he went to the store to get himself a sandwich. Tony stood up. I'm going to the corner store. Do you want to come? He didn't have a sandwich then, but when he came back, he did. So he went to the corner store to buy a sandwich. What does Eva promise never to do again? Do you remember? I think she learned her lesson when she ran out of her sandwich. Tony said, you have to promise me one thing. And she said, I know. I promise never to feed the pigeons. Why did she make that promise? Because they would keep coming until she had nothing left for herself. That's the end of our second story this week. I will come back next week and read you 2 more. Until then, keep safe and healthy, and we'll talk later. Bye-bye.